peace is not necessarily when, there is absence of conflict or war or all that. In fact, many societies today are in dire need of, peace, and it's a broad concept. But let's look at how, leaders at all levels, beginning with the religious leaders, the political leaders, and all other people at the top who are supposed to be leaders, paving the way. What kind of sacrifice? What's the nature and scope of sacrifice that they can, make to promote, sustainable peace?
Thank you very much. I think that the term sacrifice actually is not a common thing. And we need to make it very clear that it's not an easy thing. An indisciplined man can hardly be a sacrificial person. So sacrifice takes a sense of discipline, a sense of responsibility, a sense of selflessness, a sense of looking at the bigger picture beyond you. Then you have that capacity to begin to make sacrifice. A sacrificial man, a man who is a man of sacrifice, or a woman who is a woman of sacrifice, can't be sleeping in his or her house once it's 6 a.m. That person is already up and doing. So the point I'm trying to connect is to connect capacity for sacrifice and leadership. And that is why leadership does not come easy. Leadership also is not for a lazy person. It's not for an indisciplined person. A leader is a man who is a woman who is willing to make a sacrifice beyond and above the ordinary person. That is why it's a leadership position. So when you look at the triangle of leadership, you look at the followers, the down is filled with people, and at the top, it's a very narrow people. So it is those who can endure, persevere, who have the tenacity and the consistency and persistence, to excel at individual level and then translate that into community, family level, as well as community and national level. They have a much more broader picture. So that is why leaders must be up and doing in terms of making sacrifice. Sacrifice in terms of timeliness, punctuality, sincerity, openness, transparency, accountability, and that zeal to excel. And so once leadership have it, either in family, you see it grow, in organizations, you see the organization to making a world of impact and difference, in nation states, so you begin to see it going. And that level of leadership sacrifice also will have to infect even the people. Because people copycat. Once people see that their father or their mother is disciplined and all that, you see the children begin to align too. The same thing in an organization. Once they see that the leadership is a no-nonsense person, is a very serious person and all that, the people in the organization to begin to sit up, and all that. So it has to cut across different sectors of our life, in terms of our capacity to make sacrifice for each other, for our organization, and for our nation. We have to be very deliberate and intentional about it. And like I said, sacrifice is not just a common thing. It's not an easy thing. It's something that you press yourself, you squeeze yourself to bring out the juice in you. So you must be willing, to make that sacrifice. That is why I think, like Imam said, that sacrifice is not something you do from a comfort zone. You do it from a point of self-pain, for wider gain. So you must be willing, as a leader, to do that. And I think that if I need to speak on a more national space right now, what we're going through, the removal of this fuel subsidy was not an easy decision.
I was going to come to that.
Yes, I think I need to make it a bit clear.
Sometimes,
it is not an easy decision for any leader to take. And there is no leader, that joy in the pain of its people. I think we need to make that very clear. But we're at a crossroad where that decision needs to be taken. And I think that is where leadership comes in. And we can see the level of gains in terms of the revenue profile, for the government of Nigeria, in terms of what the removal of subsidy have done and the leakages that has blocked. And I think that the blocking of leakages is a continuous process to which the government has committed itself to do. Also, the floating of the foreign currency, to cut off people who were reaping, unnecessarily from the system, and all that. And then the capacity also for the system to continue, in spite of all those failures, in the past, to see how we make it. And the reason why I'm saying this is that we, as a people, as a nation, we're already making sacrifices, very big, huge sacrifices at individual level and at national level on these two key issues of subsidy removal and the foreign exchange floating. What that means is that we must now begin to build trust and confidence, on the part of the leadership to ensure that the sacrifices that we are making is not in vain. And I need to say this because of the level of politicization, by political elites to undermine some of these sacrifices that we are making. And I think that I need to make this very clear also, that in the build-up to the last election, all the candidates were on the same page in terms of subsidy removal on the issue of forex. But now we are seeing a campaign. We are seeing a campaign of people telling us certain things, and they are not providing alternative to these policies, that are on ground. And we can see the level of disenchantment. If you go to the X platform, for example, and you see what some Nigerians are saying, and I call them paid hirelings, because if I'm opposing a policy, I should be in a better position to provide an alternative policy. Because first and foremost, after elections, we all become citizens. The government becomes government of everyone. So all we need to do as enlightened and good citizens is to support the government of the day to achieve what they say they want to achieve, so that we don't have to suffer twice. That's the truth. So we believe in the leadership to take us through this tunnel of darkness into the light that they say we will see. And we'll wait for that light to see. So when we don't see that light, then we can begin to castigate. But here we are just midway, and already we are being stampeded. And I think that is not too good for any nation, for us to build a nation that we desire.